Hey everyone, and welcome. Have you ever looked out your window and seen a bird just sitting there, a little too still, and you get that little pang in your gut, that feeling that something just isn't right? Well, in this explainer, we're going to sharpen that intuition. We're going to learn how to actually read a bird's health, and in the process, connect with the nature in your own backyard in a totally new way.
It's the question, isn't it? Is this little one okay? We've all been there. You see a bird on the ground or huddled on a branch, and you just get that feeling. But how can you really know for sure if it's in trouble or just taking a break?
Well, the great news is you don't have to be a veterinarian to get a pretty good idea. By learning to spot just a few key signs, you can go from being someone who just watches birds to someone who's a responsible guardian for the wildlife right outside your door. And to keep things really simple, we're going to break this all down into just two main areas. First, we'll cover its physical appearance, what you can see just by looking, and second, we'll get into its behavior, what the bird is actually doing. All right, let's dive right into our visual checklist. I want you to think of this as doing a quick, respectful, head-to-toe scan from a distance, just using your eyes to pick up on the little clues. First up, let's talk feathers. A healthy bird's feathers look sleek, glossy, and they fit together perfectly, kind of like a well-tailored suit. Now, if you see feathers that are all messy, constantly ruffled, or maybe they look wet when it hasn't even rained, that's a warning sign. And definitely be on the lookout for any obvious bare patches where you can see the skin. Okay, next, let's zoom in on the eyes and nostrils. Healthy eyes are going to be bright, totally clear, and alert. The nostrils should be clean, no blockages, so if you see any kind of discharge, any swelling or crustiness, or if the bird is keeping one or both of its eyes closed, that's a huge red flag. It's often a sign of infection or an injury. Now, let's look at the bird's overall shape, its posture. A healthy bird just looks, solid. It's alert and well-proportioned. An unhealthy bird, on the other hand, might look really thin. Sometimes you can even see the keel bone, that's the breastbone, sticking out. Or you might see it hunched over and fluffed up, which is a classic sign it's having a hard time keeping warm. And finally, for our visual check, don't forget to look down at the feet and legs. On a healthy bird, they should be clean, and it should be able to grip a branch or walk around just fine. Any obvious swelling, sores, or injuries are trouble signs. Same goes if it's holding a leg up and not putting any weight on it. Okay, so we've covered what to look for, but now let's move on to behavior, because honestly, how a bird acts can tell you just as much, if not more, than how it looks. And the difference is often like night and day. Think about it. A healthy bird is a busy bird, right? It's active, it's sipping around, it's eating eagerly, it's making noise. A sick bird, though, is often the complete opposite. It's listless, maybe sitting in one spot for hours, showing zero interest in food, and it's often eerily quiet. And there are a few more subtle behaviors to watch for. If you see a bird breathing with its mouth open, or its tail is bobbing with each breath, that's a serious sign of distress. Another big one is isolation. A bird that's normally in a flock, sitting all by itself, is a bad sign. And I know it's a little gross, but if you can see its droppings, watery or bloody droppings are a clear indicator of a problem. So the reason we're learning these signs is because they aren't random, they're direct clues to what might be going on inside. For example, those ruffled, puffed-up feathers, the bird is creating an air layer to trap body heat, which is something they do when they have a fever from an infection. These observations are the very first step in recognizing a creature that desperately needs help. Okay, so let's say you've used your new skills, you've been observing, and you're pretty darn sure you found a bird in trouble. This is the moment where knowing exactly what to do and what not to do is absolutely critical. So if you think a bird needs help, I want you to remember this simple 3-step protocol. First, just observe from a distance for a bit. Make sure it's not just resting. Second, check for any immediate dangers. Is it in the middle of a road? Is there a cat nearby? And third, and this is the most important step of all, contact an expert for advice before you do anything. So who counts as an expert? We are not talking about your neighbor who has a really nice bird feeder. We're talking about licensed professionals. This means your local wildlife rescue or rehabilitation center, a vet hospital that treats wildlife, or your state's wildlife agency. These are the folks with the training, permits, and resources to handle this properly. Now, let's talk about what not to do. And this is so important because even with the absolute best intentions, it is incredibly easy to make things worse. Think of this as your do no harm checklist. Please remember these 3 critical rules. Number 1, do not touch the bird with your bare hands. Wild animals can carry diseases that can affect you or your pets. 2, do not try to capture it unless you're on the phone with an expert and they are specifically telling you exactly how to do it. And 3, do not try to give it food or water. This one feels wrong, I know, but the wrong food can be harmful, and a weak bird can actually inhale water and drown.
Okay, so that's how to handle an emergency. But what about the bigger picture? There are things we can all be doing proactively to support our local birds and help them stay healthy in the first place. And it's actually pretty simple stuff. Just providing a source of clean, fresh water makes a huge difference, especially when it's really hot or freezing cold. If you use bird feeders, please keep them clean to stop diseases from spreading. And when you offer food, just remember the goal is to supplement their natural diet, not replace it.
And you might be thinking, it's just one bird. But the health of that single sparrow or that one finch in your yard is actually one tiny data point in a much, much bigger story. And this right here is the key takeaway. Healthy birds are a sign of a healthy environment. They are literally our canaries in the coal mine. When they start to struggle, it's often one of the first warning signs that something is out of balance in the very ecosystem that we all share.
So you see, by learning to read these simple signs, you're not just watching birds anymore. You're becoming a steward. You're becoming a guardian who pays attention. In a way, you're becoming a citizen scientist, contributing to a deeper awareness of the beautiful, complex world right outside your window.
So the next time you look outside, I hope you don't just see a bird. I hope you look closer. See its feathers, its eyes, the way it holds itself, its energy. What kind of story is it telling you? Starting tomorrow, what will you pay attention to?